All right. So when you look at historical matches in history, what do you think of? Well, if you're the AFC, you're thinking maybe Bills versus Pats or Raiders versus Chiefs, or definitely Raiders Chargers or Raiders Jets or Raiders Steelers and all that because the AFC with the AFL stuff. In the NFC, or well, the former the NFL, you have great rivalries and all that. You have the Packers and the Lions. You have the Giants and the Eagles, or the Giants and the Cowboys, even. You have the Niners and the Rams. But one rivalry takes the cake. It's got to be between the two oldest NFL teams, the once proud Chicago Bears and the very popular Green Bay Packers. Bears Packers. How many times does a Bears Packers game be famous for a lot of things? You have 1985 when Charles Martin of the Packers body slammed Jim McMahon and got himself a massive suspension because of that. First time in NFL history it happened. You have the final week of the 2008 season with the Packers beating the Bears on the final day to win the NFC North and have a number one seed in the playoffs. And of course, so many Packers Bears matchups from the old days. But one of them was a huge one because it was for the NFC title. And this is about the Chicago Bears and their failure to win the 2010 NFC title game, which meant that they could not go to the Super Bowl. So get ready. I said, are you ready? Are you ready for some Cutter What If NFL football? A weekend invasion! Yeah, it's Cutter talking to you live. We got the hits and the misses. So come join me for all the fun. All the rowdy fans come in. It's the weekend, y'all. Are you ready? Yeah, let's do this, baby. Yes. So the Chicago Bears are one of the most recognizable and oldest franchises in the NFL. The Halas family, with George Papa Bear Halas bringing the team into great repute and all that, playing at Wrigley Field, which is kind of weird because it's a baseball stadium. But anyway, the Chicago Bears famously in 1932 had to play the NFL title game against the Portsmouth Spartans at home indoors at Chicago Stadium because of a massive snowstorm. You see that nowadays? You don't. The fact of the matter is that Chicago Stadium was so small, they had to make it 80-yard field. And then basically, once you play half, go past halfway, you had an extra 20 yards. But regardless of that, the Bears were big. And the Chicago Bears were a very good team in essence. In 1940, they crushed the Washington Redskins into fine powder 73 to nothing to win the 1940 NFL title game. They would have a rematch 3 years later, which I believe Washington won. But the fact is, the Bears were looking pretty damn good in every sense of the word. They had some great offense, some great defense, and all that. Red Grange was once a Bear. You had Dick Butkus, you had Mike Ditka, you had uh, not Ernie Nevers, Gil Sayers, you had Walter Payton. They had some great players in the 50s and 60s, but they just couldn't get past those pesky Chicago Bears for the NFL title, in a sense. The Bears would pick up this unknown from Jackson State by the name of Walter Payton, and he was shattering all the records. He broke Jim Brown's record in 1984, although Jim Brown left his NFL career to pursue movies. Well, might have been if Brown still played. Regardless, Walter Payton was basically all the Bears had. They made the playoffs a few times in the 70s and 80s, but basically it was just Walter Payton and everybody else. However, the 1985 season was massive. The Bears went 15-1, becoming the second team to get 15 wins in the regular season once it got to 16 games. The Niners the previous year were the other ones. But the Bears only lost was on Monday Night Football in Miami in front of players of the 1972 Dolphins, the only undefeated team in NFL history. So, yeah, the Bears sucked. And then they decided to do the Super Bowl shuffle before the playoffs even started, which was kind of awkward and all that. Their bravado might have cost them, but it didn't. Thankfully not. The Bears were still dominant against the Giants, Rams, and Patriots in the Super Bowl. Of course, this is before I was a Patriots fan, and I was only 9 months old when that game happened. Super Bowl 20 happened. That they only gave up 10 points the entire playoffs. 10. Not even the Ravens from 2000 had that low of a number. Yes, they gave up 7 points in the Super Bowl, but they gave up, I think, double digits to the Titans, didn't they? I don't remember. But the fact of the matter is, the Bears actually threw back-to-back shutouts in the first 2 games against the Giants, which was famous for Sean Landetta's whiffed punt and Sean Gale easily getting the touchdown, and the Bears crushing Dieter Brock into fine powder. Even though that Dieter Brock should have been good in the cold weather because he played in the CFL. But the fact of the matter is, they gave up 10 points to the New England Patriots, who should never have been there in the first place. Those pesky Patriots took care of the Miami Dolphins in the AFC title match in Miami. Nevertheless, the Bears would be huge and all that. The Bears would not get back to the Super Bowl till 2007 when they took on the Colts, and Devin Hester returned one for a touchdown. The first play of the game, but the Colts still won, thanks to Peyton Manning. Of course, the Bears would stumble on and all that for many years and all that. They were looking good. They were 4-2. They were aiming to be 5-2 in the NFC and have a good run. But then all of a sudden, one play changed everything. As Jalen Daniels threw a insurmountable Hail Mary, sunk the Bears defense, one of them were celebrating the play and all that. But the play wasn't over, and the Washington Commanders won that game. Little did we know that they actually would lose, like, what, 8 in a row and all that, even to my Pats, who suck nowadays. But anyway, yeah, the Bears were doing okay. But then, of course, just this past few months, Virginia McCaskey, who was the owner of the Bears since 1983 and who dumped off the Bears dancing cheerleader troupe, which a lot of people think that it's a jinx, passed away. She was 100 years old. She was like Frank. Amazing. But anyway, let's talk about the 2010 Chicago Bears. So the 2010 Chicago Bears were the 91st time the Bears been in the NFL, and they're 700. Lovie Smith. They were 7-9, and they needed to develop their roster and improve on their record. But anyway, the Bears dramatically improved by 4 games to 11 wins. Made sure it was their first playoff appearance since the Super Bowl loss in 2007, winning the NFC North and earning a bye as the NFC second seed. They would play the Seahawks in the divisional round to win, and then face those pesky Packers in the NFC title game. This was the last time the Bears won the NFC North / made the playoffs. So 2018. So that's 8 years. The Bears have not won a playoff game since this 2010 thing. Anyway, Chicago would fire Ron Turner as offensive coordinator and all that. Mike Tice, the former Vikings head coach, was made Bears offensive line coach. And then Mike Martz was named offensive coordinator, the former Rams head coach who inherited the greatest show on turf from Dick Vermeil. Anyway, Ron Marinelli was the defensive line coach. And Marinelli was made defensive coordinator in the end. So anyway, the 2010 NFL draft, they didn't really have any major guys. Dan Lefevre, Central Michigan star quarterback, was picked by the Bears in the 6th round, but he amounted to nothing. The Bears did not have their first and second round pick. Their second round pick was Tampa's in exchange for Gaines Adams, and the Bears traded their 2010 first round pick alongside quarterback Kyle Orton to Denver for the one of Jay Cutler at QB. Regardless of that, they had a rookie camp and all that. The problem was that, they made the move for Gaines Adams, and then all of it freaking sudden, Gaines Adams died of cardiac arrest. So yeah, January 17th, 2010. He only played 1 season for the Bears, and then he unexpectedly died of a previous heart condition. He played 10 games for the Bears and then he died January 17th. So he had a large heart. Like the Bears traded away the second round pick for a guy who somehow died during the offseason. It's not really the best field in the world. So Jay Cutler was the main quarterback with Todd Collins and Caleb Haney being his backups. Hunter Hillemeyer was a reserve that got hurt. Matt Forte, Chester Taylor were good running backs. Garrett Will from Northern Illinois also was there. David Amonashu, Earl Bennett, Devin Hester, the punt returner, Johnny Knox, the wide receiver, Desmond Clark, Brendan Mull, and Greg Olson at tight end. Roberto Garza, Olin Kurtz, Kevin Chambers, Jamarcus Webb, stars on the offensive line. D line, you had Tommy Harris, Israel Adonijay from University of Manitoba, Julius Peppers, former Panthers standout, and Henry Melton. Linebackers, Lance Briggs, Pisa Samoa, and Brian Urlacher, Josh Bullock, Corey Graham, Tim Jennings, DJ Moore, Dan Manning, Charles Tillman, and Major Wright. Defensive backs and special teams, Will Robbie Gold and Brad Maynard. So yeah, Virginia McCaskey knew what to do with Lovie Smith as preseason. They were 0-4 in the preseason, but that's just the freaking preseason. So yeah, so they looked pretty good and all that. So anyway, they actually had to play a game. They were supposed to play in Minnesota, like at the Metrodome and all that. Unfortunately, because of the collapse of the Metrodome roof, thanks to the snow, they had to go to TCF Bank Stadium, home to the University of Minnesota, and play that game. They were 11-5. They did lose the final day to the Packers at Lambeau Field, but still beat the Packers by 1 for the division. The Bears, the 2 seed, the Packers, the 6 seed. So the Bears looked pretty decent. They even played one game in Toronto from 50,000 people. The Bills were still winless. I can't remember if that was the last time that um, the Canada got to host a regular season game. Anyway, in the divisional round, they were the 2 seed. They had to wait 1 week, and Seattle was coming to town. The Bears were up 21-0 through the first quarter. All that looked pretty good. Cutler did get a touchdown, make it 28-0, and it looked pretty good. The Bears looked pretty good. And then they went to the NFC title game on home turf at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 101% full was the game attendance. Anyway, coming up their win over the Seahawks, the Bears would face off against the Packers because the Packers went to Atlanta and beat the Falcons. So that means the Bears got to host the NFC title game. This would be only the second playoff meeting between the two teams. The Bears beat the Packers in 1941 in the playoffs, but that was it. Anyway, the Bears would be up. Packers were up 14-0. Aaron Rodgers and James Starks both hit touchdowns. All that. Anyway, Jay Cutler would actually have to leave the game early in the third quarter with a knee injury, so that looked bad. So it was 14-0 through 3 quarters. Chester Taylor got a touchdown run to make it 14-7. Unfortunately, BJ Raji had a pick six for a touchdown. Caleb Henney did get a touchdown pass to Earl Bennett, but interception by Sam Shields did the job. The Bears would lose. Now, the question in my mind is that when I'm thinking about the what if, would Cutler have had enough time for the Super Bowl? I say yes. So, anyway, let's take a look at the 2010 Bears and see how they would do in the Super Bowl. So, the Chicago Bears would be what they call the home team because of the whole fact that the Packers were the home team for the Super Bowl. And of course, we're replacing the Packers with the Bears. So the Chicago Bears are 11-5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 12-4. The 6 seed Packers out, the 2 seed Bears in. So anyway, Pittsburgh looking for their seventh title. They had titles in 75, 75, 76. Yeah, 75, 76, 79, 80, 06 and 09. That's right, 06 and 09. The Steelers would have went for the second Super Bowl in 3 years with Ben Roethlisberger. And we all know they fumbled against the Packers. Now the question is, at Cowboy Stadium, where the Super Bowl was being played, what will happen? Here we go. And it would be something. Anyway, the Bears would kick off to the Steelers. On 1st and 5 at Chicago 39, the Bears recover a fumble. And then Cutler to Forte for a touchdown, 47-yard run. The Bears are up 7-0. And then a 9.60-yard job by the Steelers as Roethlisberger hit Heath Miller for a touchdown. Pittsburgh gets the tie. And then after a miss play on 3rd and 10, they went for a 49-yard field goal. And Sean Sweezum did squeeze it in right down the middle. The pride of Wallaceburg, Ontario, made it 10-7 for the Steel Curtain. James Harrison picked off Jay Cutler late in the second quarter, got it to the Bears 49. Fortunately, though, nothing happened. And then with under 2 minutes left, Forte and Cutler scrambled. 4th and 3, Gold went from 45 yards down the pike to make it 10-10. Pittsburgh had a chance, but they failed. So it's 10-10 after 2 quarters. In the third quarter, the Bears got the ball first, but had to punt. Robbie Gould hit a 42-yard field goal down the pikey poo. What can you do? It's 13-10. Pittsburgh then scored a touchdown on Mendenhall's run on second and goal at the 2 with 2:56 left in the third quarter. Extra point good, 17-13. And then in the fourth quarter, Mendenhall fumbles. The Bears had 4th and goal. They decided to go for it instead of going for 3, which would have made it 17-16 and at least did something. But they were at the 2. But Garrett Wolf could not do his job. The Steelers would run 6 minutes off the clock, 12 plays, 74 yards, and squeeze them through the uprights to make it 20-13. Cutler gets picked up by Troy Polamalu, and that was it. The Steelers would have won the Super Bowl over the Bears. The Bears didn't know what was coming to them. Roethlisberger, the MVP of the game, goes down the pike. Steelers 6 for 13 on 3rd down. Bears 3 for 12 on 3rd and 4th down combined. Running yards 96-79. Passing yards 221-69 for the Steelers. Mendenhall 68 yards. Forte 61. Keith Miller and all that. Jay Cutler 9 for 15, 169. Touchdown, 2 interceptions. Roethlisberger 19 for 30, 31, 234 and touchdown. So yeah, the 2 interceptions were by James Harrison and Troy Polamalu. Sweezum made it from 49 and 40, Gold from 45 and 42. So the Steelers would have won the Super Bowl anyway, and the Bears would have been screwed over. Fight on, Chicago Bears, because you should have won the Super Bowl. Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do